Welcome to Jaunty Haunts, the podcast about all things supernatural. After 30 years of keeping a secret, I'm finally ready to share with the world that I see ghosts. Yep, I've been having conversations with the other side while trying to keep up appearances. This podcast is all about getting spooky and connecting with others who might also sense, see, or feel things beyond the ordinary. We'll swap true tales of the seen and unseen, and maybe even laugh about the weird stuff we've experienced. Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, come join me as we explore the paranormal. Let's connect, share, and maybe feel a little less crazy together. Welcome to Jaunty Haunts. Hey listeners, welcome to episode 18, the season finale. I have to be completely honest, as silly as this sounds, I'm pretty emotional as I'm recording and working on this episode. I'm so excited looking back on season 1 and how many amazing people I got to meet and talk to and connect with about this thing that has been such a weird, embarrassing secret for so long. I can't thank the listeners and collaborators and interviewees enough for embracing me and trusting me with their stories about this taboo topic of death and the afterlife and spirits and all kinds of other things. I have felt pretty alone in this woo-woo stuff for so long, and it has been so rare in the past to connect with people who see or experience the same things that I do. And the main thing I was hoping to achieve with this podcast, besides having spooky fun, has honestly been to connect with others and find a community of people who have experiences like this that they might not be able to explain or might just be afraid to talk openly about because of the society we live in. So, I want to reiterate, this is a safe place and you are welcome here, and I can't wait for the future to hear more fascinating stories and experiences from all of you. Like I always say in the intro, let's feel a little less crazy together. So in this episode, we're going to be playing off of the theme last week a little bit of hometown heroes by talking about college town ghosts. Jordan, my partner, who you know, had his first ghostly experience ever in his dorm room at school. And I had some pretty notable ghost experiences on my college campus as well. I'm also going to end the episode with a couple of fun recaps and flashbacks to different moments in season 1. Thank you all so much again for listening. Please continue to share the show and tell your friends. I will be taking a few weeks off after today to regroup and go into production mode for season 2. But guys, I can already say I've got some great guests lined up, some really fun themes, and some potential ghost tours in the works. So stay excited and please keep spreading the word. Jaunty Haunts Season 2 will be here this spring. In the meantime, please keep sending in your stories. You can send a voice memo or a written story, or we can even chat on the phone. Also, are there any specific topics that you would like me to do episodes about in the future? Or any specific guests we've had on season 1 that you can't get enough of that you want more of in season 2? Let me know. I want to hear from you, listeners. This is a super fun show to make, but at the end of the day, I make it for you, the listeners. So I want to know what you want to hear. You know where to reach out, jauntyhaunts@gmail.com. That's JAUNTYHAUNTS@gmail.com. Now, let's get into it. The CASPER rating of this episode is 5. Okay, you guys, so before we get into the main theme of college town ghosts, I thought it would be fun to tell you 2 very short personal stories of stuff that's just happened very recently, right? I talk about how I see stuff all the time, but I feel like this will give you, I don't know, just a fun peek into some stuff I've seen in the past few weeks, right? The first one was at this little candle shop in the West Village a few weeks ago. I got in and I heard some of the employees talking, and it's a make your own candle bar, right? You sit at the bar and you make your own candle, And there was one woman working who was teaching us and doing the class. And then there was another woman who arrived a little bit later. She came in with her coat and her bags and everything. And she looked at the woman teaching us and said, "Ugh, I'm so mad because I have to go downstairs." And the woman was like, "Okay, good luck. He's waiting down there for you," joking around, right? So instantly I'm thinking, it's a ghost, right? It's the West Village. It's very, very old, very cutesy, but very old. Like there's gotta be a ghost, It's a basement, most likely. A lot of these buildings and structures have been here since literally like the 1700s. She grabs her things, braces at the hallway and does like a ee sound, and then goes downstairs. And the minute she starts walking downstairs, my alarm bells go off, right? Like ding, ding, ding. Oh, something is here, right? So a couple minutes go by and she comes back up and she's like definitely walking at a faster speed. And as soon as she clears the top of like the stairwell to go into the basement, I see a man, a spirit of a man. I don't know why I always say like I'm surprised. I guess it's still a surprising thing no matter what situation you're in. But a man sort of peeks around the corner and he's following very close behind her. And he's like a creepy man, not cutesy old man, like creepy, looked to be maybe in his, I'd say maybe late 40s, early 50s, but like 1980s version. So, like people in the 80s looked like 10 years older than they do now. So, he probably was 46, but he looked like he was like 58, if that makes sense. So anyway, he's like following closely behind her, and I just like look down into my candle. I'm like stirring the hot wax, like, okay, I'm not gonna address that, and he kind of like gets emotional, like drat, like, oh, I missed it. I missed my chance or something, and turns around and walks back downstairs. And the two women were, standing close to each other chatting, and I leaned over and I said, "Oh, is this building, haunted? Is that what you guys were talking about?" And they look at each other and they look at me and they said, "Well, that's not what we were talking about. There's a mouse downstairs." There's been a little mouse that's running around and it pops out and it scares us. And I was like, "Oh, right. Okay, yeah, of course, And then one of them says, "But also, yeah, it's really creepy down there." I was like, "Yeah, these old basements, I can imagine." But they were talking about a mouse, not the man that was following them around. So I spared them that detail. Anyway, my second story happened literally last night. I'll be super open. So I started taking antidepressants for the first time in my life. It's been a rough year. Sorry. There's my state of mind. Anyway, I started taking medication and I was talking with my therapist and I said, I think this might, affect my woo-woo stuff. Like maybe I'll stop seeing ghosts. Maybe, I'll be less in tune with what's going on around me. And granted, I'm 1 week in, right? I'm noticing changes, but I'm 1 week in. And one of the biggest things I've noticed is I'm not getting energy off of a lot of people that are around me anymore. I'm kind of in my own cone, my own zone of energy, which has frankly been great. But I had the thought, oh, am I still gonna be able to see ghosts? Is this sort of turned something off within me? Or have I honestly just been crazy this whole time and medication will stop, right? Will stop these hallucinations I've been having, maybe, perhaps, who knows? I'm still reckoning with this. You guys know that, come on. And last night I was in my famous haunted basement and I was doing some laundry. And as I was taking clothes out of the dryer and putting them in my bin, I saw something run out of the corner of my eye, like a movement. And so I turned to look and there was no shit, a little boy spirit just standing there. He was like completely white, like a very very opaque, right? Like definitely looked fleshy, but not, but also like almost like in black and white. And he had like shorts and a very, very short sleeve shirt on. And also he had no shoes on, which I didn't like that. I don't know what that was about. But he was just standing there, staring at me. And I just was staring at him. And it's one of those things that felt like it went on for like 40 seconds, but it was probably like 8 seconds, you know? I was alone. There was no one else down there with me. And we kind of had a little staring contest. I didn't get scared. I didn't, engage emotionally. I just was neutral. I just looked at him. And then he, whoop, snap, disappeared. Just was gone. And as like freaky as that was, it was also so nice to know. It was very validating that within my new framework of this medication that I'm on, that I'm feeling less sad. I'm feeling less anxious. I'm feeling more connected to myself. But hey, you know what? I'm still seeing ghosts, baby. So we've got a season 2. No, but it was good and validating to be like, all right, it's not all in my head. And also, I don't know what that little boy's doing in my basement. I gotta go figure that out.
Hi, this is Brian O'Connor.
And I'm Michael Duran.
Horror fans, it's time to get your fix with Opening Kill, the new podcast where we dissect everything terrifying in the world of horror.
From the latest movie news to an in-depth look at a feature film and a peek at chilling horrors to come, we've got you covered.
Whether it's gore, suspense, or supernatural thrills, Opening Kill is the ultimate horror deep dive.
Listen to Opening Kill on your favorite podcast platform every Thursday, if you dare.
Please welcome one of our favorite special guests, Jordan. Trigger warning for this episode for suicide and bodily harm. All right, listeners, you know him, you love him. I'm here with Jordan.
Oh, stop it.
Snap.
Stop.
So kind of adjacent conceptually to this idea of hometown heroes was this idea of college town, small town, ghosts, lore, stories. And I know you have a great sort of hometown and college town story.
Yeah.
So take us into this Mount Clef boy, right?
Yes.
All right.
Okay, so this is kind of both. Yeah, like you said, it's a hometown, college town. So I went to college basically in my hometown, a town called Thousand Oaks, California. Little town 30 miles north of Los Angeles. And California Lutheran University was the name of my school. This is around 2009. I was a freshman there, and I lived in the dorms. I lived in a dorm called Mount Clef. So there were 4 dorms that freshmen stayed in on one side of campus just to kind of get them acclimated to how everything worked. I was in the oldest dorm.
Was Mount Clef cheaper because it was so much older?
Cheaper to live in?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
I know.
I
figured,
think any
it seems
private university, they're like, well, this is what you pay, and then we decide where to put you.
I just love the idea of you guys being in this older, haunted, crappy dorm while your friends are down the street paying the same price.
Yeah, and they definitely, the newer dorm, this is such a tangent, but the newer dorms definitely felt more like an apartment complex.
Yeah.
The lighting was different, the layout was different. The lighting in our dorm, my personal dorm, was definitely office fluorescent-y kind of lights. Mm-hmm. And the layout of the dorm itself was basically, there would be 2 sleeping areas that had 2 beds each, and they were kind of parallel to each other. And then those rooms would be connected by 2 tiny hallways, and one hallway was the closet and the other hallway was the bathroom. So you had this kind of weird H-shape thing happening, and that was considered one dorm suite. Mm-hmm. But it was 2 rooms to a suite, and they were connected twice One's at the front by a closet and one's in the back by a bathroom.
Okay.
So I'm sharing a closet and a bathroom with 3 other dudes my age. So I'm about halfway through my freshman year at this college, and I had gotten on to the California Lutheran University improv team.
Oh, snap.
And we had the very coveted performance spot of every other Thursday at 11 o'clock at night.
Oh, damn.
Now, California. So just to kind of pump up my CLU improv team here, we
just tell your ghost story.
No, I'm gonna pump it up. You can cut this out if you want to, but I'm gonna pump them up a little bit. It was a really great group of people, and we were on a dry campus, and so it was a Thursday night on a dry campus. It was the only thing to do. So we kind of got this reputation of being the only place to be on Thursday nights. And we were in this little pavilion, and we packed it. It was a free show. We packed the hell out of that pavilion. And it was a show. We'd start at 11, and then we'd like leave. Everyone would leave at like 1 o'clock in the morning. And like, it was never like school sanctioned.
Yeah.
It was just like our teacher knew we had like the improv teacher was like a faculty member, and so she would monitor us, so that was okay. And then the security guard was just like, "Hey, you guys good?" And we were like, "Yeah." And like just one of us was on student administration, so like they had a key to use the area. So it was like, it was not like the drama department was like, "Yes, you're allowed to do it in here." It was just like we just did it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I was getting ready. It was
for your star performance.
For my star performance at improv. Anyway, so we'll go back. So it was Thursday night. I was just finishing up doing a rehearsal, and then I was gonna come home, back to the dorm room, shave really quick, and then get ready and go do the improv show. And you know, at this point in time, everyone's supposed to be out of the dorm. That way I'm not feeling weird about like doing vocal warm-ups or you know, taking a little bit too long in the bathroom to like shave and shower. And so I get there and the dorm's empty, and I start shaving in the mirror. And the way that the mirror is that the mirror is at the furthest wall. So if both doors to the bathroom are open, you can kind of see angled into both of the sleeping areas. Mm-hmm. So I'm shaving, and out of the corner of my eye, I can see that one of our roommates, I'll call him Ian because that was his name, was asleep in bed. And this wasn't unusual because Ian kept way different hours than the rest of us. He was a little bit more into the partying that was happening, so like he would sleep in until like 2 o'clock in the morning, or he would just stay up all for a couple days straight and then sleep for a while. So it was no big deal to be like, okay, he's here, and then he basically was asleep until an alarm woke him up, and then he would have to go to class or go to a party or something. So I see him kind of sleeping in my peripheral vision in the bed in the reflection of the mirror. And as I'm shaving, I see him stir, and I see him get up and like stand up and turn around and look at me. And I say, "Oh, hey, sorry, Ian. I didn't mean to wake you up." And he doesn't say anything. And I turn around, and there's no one there.
Did you go into the room to see?
Yeah. Because I figured maybe I just saw him get up out of the corner of my eye, and then he like walked like into the closet to like go get clothes or something.
Yeah.
So I like walk into the room, and I look to see like the lights are on. You know what I mean? Like the lights in their room are on, and so I just like, "Ian?" And then I look in the closet, no one in the closet, no one in my room. And so I just figure, okay, that's super strange, but I don't really have time for this right now. Like, that's just weird.
Okay.
So I finish up shaving, I leave, I turn off the lights, and I kind of forget about it. A month or two goes by, and I'm talking with some other people who live in the dorm, on the other side of the dorm. in Montclair. And they say something about how the ghost boy showed up. And I was like, what? What are you talking about? And they say, oh, you don't know? Yeah, there's like the ghost boy of Mount Clef. I have no idea what this is. And they're like, yeah, he causes mischief. He like throws pillows. He, there's like, sometimes there's mud in the halls. And I'm like, okay, sure. He throws pillows and blankets and causes mischief and tracks mud everywhere. And it just so happens that it's in this freshman dorm.
Yeah.
Okay. And then one of the friends is like, oh, no, that's like real. And I was like, what do you mean it's real? It's like, well, that all that stuff, that can be like kids messing around, but like, it's the one thing, like they said, I'm a tour guide for the school. It's the one thing we're not supposed to acknowledge. The administration has made it very clear that we're not to engage with any questions about the Mount Clef Ghost Boy.
Wow.
And I was like, what do you mean? And they're like, well, because I think it was since the 60s or something like that, there have been reports of hauntings.
Yeah.
In this dorm, in this area, people getting pushed downstairs.
Oh shit.
Like mischievous stuff too, but then also like people seeing reflections of a boy in their TV screen when it turns off.
Ooh.
Or in a mirror or something. So I'm hearing them say this, and my blood like runs cold.
Yeah.
Because I've never encountered a spirit. I've
Right.
never encountered a ghost before. And my mind goes back to shaving and seeing a boy stand up seeing a reflection of a boy standing up in the corner of my room as if he lived there, and then turning around and just seeing nothing. And I said, I saw him.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah. And I said, no, you don't understand. I saw him. He was in the room. It's like, what did he do? It's like, he just stood there for a second, but I thought it was Ian. And they're like, no, that was probably the ghost boy.
Wow.
Since then, I've looked at, I will say this as a caveat. There are several origin stories to this. The one that I was told was, before this was a college, it was largely farmlands. Mm-hmm. And there was a barn where Mount Clef was. And there was a boy in the barn who died in the barn. I've heard a lot of different versions of that version. Some say he hung himself.
Oh,
Some
gosh.
say he slipped and fell. Some say he just died and we don't know.
Yeah.
I've also heard versions where the boy, where Mount Clef was built over a graveyard.
Oh, okay.
I don't give as much credence to that one.
Yeah.
Because if it was true, I feel like we'd have more than just one, like, thing.
Right.
We have more than just one ghost
haunting.
boy.
Yeah.
And I think the other one was that the final story, which I kind of buy more than the others, is that as the campus was being built and as the dorms were being built, as Mount Clef was being built, there was a boy who was playing around in the construction area and died. Mm-hmm. I will say a couple things. The other people who have seen this say it's a boy. Like, not like a young man, not like a teenager.
Like a child.
Like a boy, like a little boy. I get that. What I saw was the proportions of, like, someone who was, like, a gawky 17, 18-year-old.
Okay, yeah, that was going to be my question of, like, if you say boy, like, what, age and size, but you're saying a 17-year-old.
Yeah, it was enough that I was like, oh, Ian is in his bed.
Right.
Ian was a very, like, beanpole kind of kid.
Not like a 4-year-old standing on the top of a mattress.
No.
Yeah.
And all I can say is, like, that is the only actual, like, I saw this happen with my eyes, I can't explain it.
Yeah.
And I think it speaks a lot to how willing we are to just put it away.
Right.
To just explain it
To
away.
rationalize it.
To rationalize, to hand wave it as just
Sure.
like, okay, whatever. Because the alternative is there's a ghost in your room.
Yeah. Again, self-preservation. That's what I always tell people who experience these hauntings. Because it's like, hey, you have to move on with your life. Right? Yeah.
And I didn't even ask Ian. I remember being like, the next time I see Ian, I got to ask him if he was here.
Yeah.
Maybe I just missed him. Because, like, I didn't hear a door open or close. And those were, like, heavy, like, fire doors.
Right.
So I would have heard it close.
You can't, like, sneak out of, like, the dorm room doors. They're like, thick. Yeah.
Yeah, not that fast.
Yeah.
Like, not, oh, he's there in my peripheral vision. I turn around and there's no trace of him.
Yeah.
But I never even asked him because I just forgot about it. Now, here's the really funny part. When I moved in to Mount Clef, there are a bunch of, like, you know, the RAs, right?
Yeah.
They put up signs and they put up all this welcome stuff to be like, welcome to Mount Clef, welcome incoming freshman class of, I guess we would have been class of 2013. I'm old. And there were little ghost drawings all over Mount Clef, like cute little ghost drawings.
Really?
Completely did not
Over
take
your
that
head.
in, completely over my head.
You're like, it's anime or something.
So I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like, we're not the ghosts. Like, we're not the spirits. Like, maybe it's a school spirit thing. Like, but I just didn't even take it in and I didn't think about it. But when they talked about the Mount Clef Ghost Boy, it was the first time I heard about it. It was like the moment at the end of The Usual Suspects, where it's like all the pieces start falling into place. Right. And the only explanation I have is, that's the Ghost Boy.
Yeah.
And I'm just lucky he didn't cause any other mischief to me.
Yeah. Yeah. And hey, listener, if you go to, or if you know anyone who goes to CLU, I mean, because we drove by it, right? Like, Mount Clef is still there and intact, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So let us know if you have any similar stories or if the Ghost Boy is still hanging around.
And, you know, my college roommate, Steven, who was in Mount Clef with me, Keenan was also in Mount Clef with me. We're still, you know, in touch. Pamela lived on the other side of Mount Clef. So if you want more, I'm sure they have stories and they have connections to people who have crazier stories. But, like, if you search Mount Clef Ghost Boy on Google, I mean, it's the first result that comes up is people talking about this. Right. It's the only. That's what made it the most real to me, was that it was the only thing that the tour guides weren't allowed to talk about.
Yeah.
Like, you can say whatever you want, you can give your opinion on whatever you want, you're just not allowed to talk about the Ghost Boy. Mm-hmm. Like, that means there's something there.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I go back to the beginning of, you're paying the same as everybody else, so they really don't want you to talk about it.
Exactly.
My kid is in the haunted one.
Well, because I think, though, that's fair, too, because to be like, hey, then you have 3 other dorms.
Yeah.
And it's just another reason for incoming students to be like, I want to be anywhere except Mount Clef.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And that's my story. That's my only
Thank
real
you for sharing.
encounter.
Yeah. The only thing that you've seen with your own eyes, right?
It's the only thing that I have personally witnessed.
Yeah.
With my own eyes in reality, like a waking, not a dream,
right?
But like, and not a
like a feeling or a vibe.
Not a feeling or a vibe, or even witnessing something that I can't explain, like a mind reading moment or anything like that. Like, this was just like an entity I saw.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. Thank you for sharing.
Of course, yeah.
Weirdly similarly, I had a college ghost boy as well that I would love to share.
You had a college ghost boy?
Yeah.
Okay.
My boyfriend. No, he... No, it's like very similar.
We're going to talk about our exes on the podcast. It's a different kind of show now.
No, a little. You know what? It is going to be funny when I tell you what he did to me physically. Now that you bring that up. But,
excuse me?
No. Anyway, so I went to Southern Oregon University, and everything was very old, right? I think the dorms that I was in were also built in like the 60s, maybe 70s, but I'm pretty sure the 60s. And the new dorms were in construction my freshman year. So by my sophomore year, they were open, and that's where all the freshmen lived. So we were literally in like the last year of these things. The heat was broken. They had to give everybody individual like gas heaters because it was just falling apart. So anyway, that October, there was a paranormal investigative team on campus, and there were flyers up everywhere like, we're doing a ghost tour, and it was like $5, like, donate to our cause, we do paranormal investigations.
Were they affiliated with the school at all? Were they students?
They were students, yeah.
Oh, okay.
They were just like students.
It wasn't just like, we're ghost hunters.
Yeah.
We're here on your campus. Give us $5.
Yeah, no. They were like, juniors and seniors that, had started this. And I think they had like a YouTube channel, and they like, had some clout. They were like...
Nice. They were serious.
They were serious, yeah. They had gadgets and stuff. And, at this point... I wasn't telling anybody about my ghost stuff, like it was very, like...
You said you were freshmen?
Yeah.
So you were like 17, 18, 19?
I was 18, yeah.
You were 18, yeah.
18, yeah. Adult. But yeah, like the only person who knew was my best friend, who was also from my hometown there as well. And he didn't want to go to this. He's like, this is stupid. I'm not going. So I went with a couple other people from the theater department who like I wasn't really friends with. But anyway, I told them, like, if we're going... Like, I might not be able to go into every location, just depending. I can be a little sensitive to this stuff and whatever. And they were like, oh, okay, So anyway, we start the tour, and the tour went to the oldest dorm, the original dorm that was built on campus in, like, the late 40s, early 50s, like, when the university was established. And, like, it's mostly used for office space now, or visitors to the college who are being housed to like teach like adjunct professors and things like that. Like, it's not really where students were living anymore. But at the beginning of the tour, they said, we're going to take you to see, the ghost boy. In the same dorm, there's also the suicide room, they said. We're also going to take you to the campus. It's like basically a mansion on the property that like some of the founders of the town who had plans to make the university in the late 1800s, early 1900s lived in, right?
Oh, okay.
So the land and like everything was old, but they were like, here's everywhere we're going to take you. We started off with this dorm where the ghost boy was and where there was also the suicide room. So I told my friends right off the bat, I'm not going into that room, whatever it is, Can
I ask you, what is it about the room that made it the suicide room?
According to them, two students had committed suicide in the room.
Okay.
And at that point, I think the last one they said was like 1998. They said, we're not going to allow students to live in this building anymore because they found a third person who had tried to commit suicide in that room unsuccessfully. And the person, again, this is all according to this paranormal investigative group who is getting paid to do this tour, so I don't know the validity of it, but they said the person had tried to slit their wrists and, was found by a friend and was basically taken to the hospital, and they told the doctors and the friend and the nurses that the thing in the room was telling them to do it.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Wow. That the man in the corner was telling them to do it. And that's when they stopped letting students live in that room and also like that whole floor. Wow. And then gradually, like towards the end of the year, being like, we're building new dorms. We're not going to allow students to live here anymore because this is the third occurrence. And like apparently in the first two, there had been like strange suicide notes of like, kids who were very well adjusted coming to school and seeing something and talking to their friends and isolating themselves and just like having this very strange pattern and then, killing themselves. But it was like the same room, the same thing. It just was very strange.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
For...
And I was getting to that.
Okay. Sorry.
No, it's good. I'm glad we just jumped in.
Yeah.
But it, again, these could all be stories made up. This is what the tour said, though. So, and it's true, there weren't students who lived there. But anyway, we get to this building, The suicide room was the second thing that they talked about. The first thing they talked about was the ghost boy who haunted this dorm. And, like, it's a joke with the professors and the people and, like, the janitorial staff that, like, oh, yep, there's a little ghost boy here. Apparently, similar to yours, when they were constructing the building, the whole school is kind of on the slant of this hill, this big, like, this small mountain, I'll say. The story was that in the 50s, there was a very rainy day, and he was basically, like, playing. And again, this isn't my story, it's the story. It's just a weird story, but basically they said that there was, like, an old mattress, and he was, like, surfing down the side of the hill in a mattress while the building was under construction, and it, like, flipped over and toppled onto him in, like, the deep mud of the foundation of the building, and, like, he was trapped, and someone later was like, whoa, a mattress flew in here, and they lifted up, and he was, like, underneath dead. Yeah. So that's the story of how this boy's haunting it, I guess. But anyway, immediately we enter the building, it does feel like, okay, there's something here. I called my mom to just check in, and I knew, okay, I didn't want to go down to the suicide room. I'll just be like, oh, I have a phone call, I'm going to step away. So I'm in the stairwell of this building, and I'm telling my mom, like, this is the story, this is what's going on, it's so funny, it's so silly. And then I feel, like, without a doubt, like a very strong poke in my butt. Not like credit card swipe, not like my butthole, but like in my butt cheek. Like someone goes, bam, like jams their finger in my butt cheek to the point where I go, oh my God, and I turn around and there's nothing there. And it just, like, immediately feel the energy of this, like, like little energy running away down the stairs.
Sure.
And I was like, oh my God. My mom's like, what? I was like, I just got poked in the butt by a ghost. She was like, what? I was like, a little ghost just poked me in the butt. I think it was the little boy.
This sounds like the headline of a National Enquirer.
I know.
Oh my God, I got poked in the butt by a ghost.
Yeah.
Local college student claims.
Yeah, God. But you know, it really like took me by surprise, and it also was crazy how obvious and clear, you know, like there's always paranormal experiences where you feel like, oh, there's something here, or you feel wind or air or a brush against you that could be questionable. It was so unquestionable. It's like there was like something wooden sticking out of the wall that I like banged against, and I like, it was that hard. Like he like bam, like jammed it and then like ran away, you know?
Wow.
And it was a stairwell. It was white painted brick and stairs. There was nothing else in there. Like there was nothing I could have hit. So, anyway, so that was fun. And then we walked down into this hallway where basically the room was. And the like scary thing was, they would like dare each other to go and lay in like the bed that existed in this room. Which also, I have to be honest, I don't know how they got access to this room and, like, keys. So, like, again, but it was weird. Like, it was, like, original brick. It was very dark. The room was very dark. It was, like, brown and red brick and, like, cement floor with, like, a single twin bed, a fan, a desk, and then, like, a little desk lamp light on it. And it was just, like that. You know, like, it was just weird. It was, like, why is this room still intact? But, you know, whether it was the placebo of the end, no, it wasn't that. Like I pick up on this. I have to be honest about it. Mm-hmm. Like there was definitely something in that room, and I didn't enter the threshold. Right, I stood in the hall and I looked in at the room, and just immediately got that overwhelming feeling of like, oh no. So I left. I waited outside the building, and then, you know, we regrouped, we heard more stories, and then we headed to the next spot where, like, the big haunt happened. The story with this building was, again, this sort of big, beautiful house built in the 1800s. Stained glass, big columns, like, very, very beautiful. And big porch, very pretty porch with, like, flowers and bushes. But there was a deck on the top of the building with, like, a door that led out onto it that was, like, I think they called it, like, it's like famous in architecture, like the Widow Watcher or something.
Oh yeah, a widow's
the man, so, yeah, you know,
a widow's watch.
a widow's watch, is that it?
I've heard it called that before, but you're talking about like a little like
A
balcony
little
kind of
perch,
thing that a widow can look at the sea and wait for her husband to come home on.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
like on like the top of the building there. And so the rumor with this big haunted building was that the very wealthy, settlers, founders of the town had built it. The man was like a doctor. They had many children, but also many miscarriages. So like the wife was unstable and like had a lot of depressive and mania issues. And for whatever reason, she like hung herself off of that like top balcony. Like she walked out and then like hung herself off of the top deck. And then like the other living kids that she had like died tragically, kind of like one by one, like weird ways, right? Again, coming from the paranormal investigative team, and like it's like, four 19 to 20-year-old guys, like, and then she killed herself, like very that energy, just like, okay. But anyway, upon walking up to this building, I was like, oh, clearly bad stuff has happened here. And at that point, nobody lived in it anymore. It was just purchased and used for the college for their own uses, right? It was more like a museum artifact thing. And there were a lot of like records and stuff in the basement for safekeeping. But the last person who had lived in there was a man who was related to the other family somehow, who killed himself in the basement. So like just a lot of death and suicide related to not only this house, but this campus. Very strange. So we walked into the house, and again, it's just that thing of like immediately like, okay, yeah, a lot going on here. It almost felt from the basement like I don't even know how to explain it. Like it felt like it was burping up, like just like gaseous, evil vortex energy coming from the basement. And then looking up towards the attic, it was just like heated, spiky, evil energy. So I didn't go to the basement, I didn't go to the attic, and I was lagging behind the group the whole time, just trying to be like, okay, I'm trying to fit in, but this is also a lot. And one of the guys from the paranormal group noticed that I was kind of not with the group, and that I would look to things in the house before he would start talking about it. Like, so that piece of furniture, hey, you're kind of already looking at it. That's actually known for belonging to the wife. She made it after her daughter died. Like, like, so one of them came up and talked to me, and he said, like, are you okay? What's going on? Are you like connected? Because you seem like, there's stuff going on. I said, yeah, I'm kind of like sensitive. Like I can like, sense stuff. I didn't say like I can see ghosts, but I was like, I can sense stuff. And he was like, you should join our club. We would love to have a girl on the team. Like, what can
red
you
flag.
do?
Red flag.
Yeah. No, I know, right?
You should join our club. We'd love to have a girl on the team.
I know, right? But I very quickly like staked my claim for fame, because they said, oh, well, if you don't want to go in the basement while they do the basement tour, we love to try to get photos of orbs. If you feel anything, can you like show us and we'll snap pictures of it? I was like, okay, sure. I was just like, whatever, this is silly, this is fun. So we go into the dining room, and it's like beautiful and red, and there's all these big like pieces and what's the word for like the big hutch type thing that sits next to the table. There's like a fancy front, like the levant, the something. Anyway, there's beautiful pieces of furniture and like a hutch and things like that. And they said, do you sense anything in this room? And I said, yes. And I didn't say it out loud, but I was like seeing a little girl in the room. And I said, take a picture of that, cabinet in that corner. And they did. And they looked at the, the screen after, and there's like a clear image of a little girl peeking around the side of the cabinet. Like, undeniable.
Wow.
And they lost their minds. They were like screaming. They were like, this is the best evidence we've ever had. Oh my God, what's your phone number? What's your email? We have to get, please come with us, please. You know, like, and I was like, no, like, I don't want this. Like, and I was like getting embarrassed because, you know, one of the guys had everybody else in the basement. So I was like alone with them. So I wasn't trying to like draw attention, you know. So when they were getting loud and getting animated and screaming, I was like, no, shh, it's okay. Like, you know, like I'm not trying to like join your team or join your club. So I like, you know, basically was like, no, sorry, this is a lot for me. Like, sensitively, I'm gonna head outside. So I like headed outside, and I called my friend who was also in town, and I told him everything that happened, and he was like, just leave, you paid the money, like, go back to your dorm, like, this is, they're never gonna leave you alone, you know. So I did. I just walked back to my dorm alone, and was laughing about it with my other friend, like, oh my God, they're gonna like stalk me until they can find me now to to go on these investigations with them. But, you know, looking back now, I think that would have been fun, and like, we probably could have gotten some cool things, but I was so insecure about this stuff, you know, I didn't want people to know about it. So
yeah, you were 18 and still just the start of your journey with this.
Yeah,
with your relationship to your connections.
Yeah, well, and I didn't want to have a reputation of like a weird girl who sees ghosts. I was like, I'm just trying to like do musicals and have fun and read Shakespeare, you know.
Yeah.
But anyway, this is gone on long and become about something different. But that was my college town fun haunts there, and I experienced a lot of other stuff while living there, obviously. And listeners, you'll know, if you listen to the Christmas compilation, you heard like my scariest story of the graveyard from this town and what brought back to my house. But yeah, specifically the college dorm, the boy who poked me in the butt, the very heavy, scary suicide room, and then the little girl that I saw at the end of the foothills there of the mansion in there. So yeah, fun stuff.
Love it. That's such a creepy story.
Well, thanks so much, as always, Jordan, for coming on and giggling and sharing your stories and your experiences.
Happy to be here in our home.
Until next time, Jordan.
Wait, you're kicking me out?
Have a great afternoon.
Wait, well, you're pushing me towards the door right now.
See you later.
I don't understand.
Thanks so much for listening. Remember, you are not alone if you've ever heard a bump in the night or caught something out of the corner of your eye. There are countless others who experience things they can't explain. And this podcast is your safe place to listen and share. Also, I want to remind everyone that this show is for entertainment purposes. I am not a professional paranormal investigator. I did not go to school to study this. I can only speak about my first-hand experiences. And with that, I'd love to mark the importance of spiritual inclusion. Your thoughts, ideas, and theories about the other side are welcome. And we know that so much of our common knowledge and perception about the paranormal stems from historical and cultural experiences. So we are open to your knowledge and understanding of things that we may be ignorant about or not fully understand. Let's learn and grow together. Stay spooky, and we'll see you next time. Hey ghoul friends, got a spooky story to share? Well, I want to hear about your haunts. Whether you've seen a ghost or something unexplainable, send your supernatural experiences to us at jauntyhaunts@gmail.com. That's JAUNTYHAUNTS@gmail.com. Or DM us on Instagram at jauntyhauntspod. That's jauntyhaunts_POD. You can also find us on TikTok and YouTube under Jaunty Haunts Podcast. I want to hear from you.